right, welcome. Come on in. This is San Francisco, June 30, and I would love to give you a continued update on what happened during June search for Nancy Guthrie. This is the candle that I was given by Nancy's personal hairdresser. I had already blessed this in Catalina State Park the day before I left Arizona, and I have been burning this candle every day since I got home. It was infused with prayers, it was infused with intentions, and it was infused with working with the four directions. So even though I am home, the search continues, and I just want to go through some of the observations that I made while I was in Arizona, in Tucson, checking out different areas that we felt Nancy Guthrie might be, lining up clues, following the clues. So I am taking my tea iced today. It is the equivalent of 110 degrees here in Canada. So I'm cooling off with some hibiscus mixed with nettle, yarrow, and marshmallow leaf. This is extraordinary for the cardiovascular system and the heart. So here's to Nancy, and I'll continue where I left off. Last video I told you about what happened when we searched Catalina State Park. And I guess in a summing it up moment, one thing I liked about Catalina State Park for matching clues, it definitely matches the dusty desert type of terrain that Nancy is describing where she's held. So this is the consideration when you're trying to follow clues and these leads. As I've said from the beginning, we have to be really careful with how we are interpreting the information Nancy did give me, because she can be giving information with respect to where she is held and other information with respect to where she is buried. Now, I'm still determined to say she was buried in red earth, and this is why I'm on my red kick. I still believe she is buried in red earth. It was too definitive in the first visitation for me to think anything else. The first visitation, Nancy was so clear. I want to repeat it here in case you haven't seen the first video I did called The Visitation Part 1. When Nancy first appeared in my bedroom and her arms were open, her hands were open, and she was showing me the red earth. To understand how mediumship works, I just want to reiterate that it is a telepathic communication between the deceased and the medium, okay? It's not that you're channeling. It really is a telepathic, direct communication. Okay, it's not like a stream that comes in even with artists, okay? Artists, musicians, anybody who writes songs, you know that there's an incredible stream that just gets channeled through you. Okay, very different from what Nancy was doing. This was not a channel. This was a direct communication, relaying of information, and I'll never forget how specific she was in that telepathy. When she had eye contact with me, she was really trying to get me to see this red earth in her hands. It was a considerable amount of time that she was showing me this red earth. She was not letting anything come in on any further telepathic level until she knew, and we were looking at each other. She was watching for my recognition that I understood she was in red earth. So red, 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 red. Even though I searched several locations, and there's really only 2 locations I actually found red earth, I'm sticking to that story. You can walk me through any shade of earth, and Mandy certainly walked me up a mountain and around in areas that there was no plausible way Nancy could have been buried or kept. Hey, and to search is to search. You go out and do it. But for all of the different types of soil, even when we got to Tanque Verde, the terrain at Tanque Verde was absolutely different than Catalina State Park, and they're barely 30 minutes apart, I believe. Now, Tanque Verde was still a consideration, and adjacent to Tanque Verde, in case you guys have not been though, it's mountain, okay? And you're going up elevation. When you get to Tanque Verde, you're going along these incredible, winding, narrow road on the mountain's edge, looking at, the earth going like this. So the first time that we tried to get to Tanque Verde was the same day that we went to Catalina State Park. We did 2 of the paths at Catalina State Park in the morning. We took a lunch break, and that was the smartest day we ever did search, because we were out, I think, by 8 a.m. that morning, and it was dang hot down there. So we were home for lunch by about 11, and that was amazing. We had done a really good voyage through Catalina, but we did sort of rule it out for the fact that, could she really be buried in there? I don't know. If you were wanting to bury a body, would you want to go through a guard? Would you want to go through the park wardens, and your car be known that was in a certain time? I'm ruling it out. But like I said, when we are interpreting information, we were trying to find, where was she held? Where was she buried? Is the Catalina State Park still congruent with where she could have been held? Absolutely yes. Okay, so is she buried there? I'm taking it off my list for, is Nancy buried in Catalina State Park? I just felt, no, she is not buried there. But I still say we've got to consider that region absolutely, because it matches the clues for where she was taken. And of course, some of the clues with respect to where she was taken, all I see are horses. One of the readings I did with my sister, and I actually, in fairness, haven't even put that reading up. I will retrace now that I'm through Arizona and back in my own country. I did not want to be placing too much of my theories with respect to the location she was held, because I had to walk among it. I had to walk through it. I did not want anybody from that region knowing who I was before I arrived. It's sort of just not wise. So that's my assessment of Catalina State Park. Is she buried there? No. Could she still have been held close to there? Heck yes. That is not off my list. And I am not going to list the number of ranches or their names that I did go to. I searched them on my own. I walked right onto the lands. I communicated with people. I felt people out. And I'm just not going to communicate the names, because that's a small town. And I just don't want names flying around, because I'm not accusing anybody. But can I say that I still believe she could have been held around Catalina State Park? Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. So I want to go back to Tanque Verde and just keep in sort of a sequence of when we went out. Okay, so the same day we went to Catalina State Park, had a nice lunch break, then went to Tanque Verde. Monsoon was coming in. So we thought we could outrun it. We tried. And it's so important when you get these messages and you're finally in the actual locations, because I'm looking around at Tanque Verde kind of going, this is not what I'm seeing at all. Not for where she was held, not for where she was buried. I know my accompaniment, Mandy, she was all over Tanque Verde thinking it was really where Nancy was, but I'm telling you, I warned them before I even went up there with her and her lovely friend. I believe her name was Susan, lovely woman who drove in to help Mandy, but I warned them right away because I had so many days only to search. I did not want to be going into territory that didn't have red earth. And Tanque Verde was a serious consideration because that region originally for me, because considering the red soil that Nancy kept wanting me to look at, I also wondered if that was Redington Pass. So it logically was a good area to go to. Tanque Verde is right adjacent to Redington Pass. Now, Redington Pass is a lower elevation though. When you say you're going up Tanque Verde, you are going up that mountain, like I said, okay? You're going up. In fact, there were 3 stop spots, 3 different levels, and you know, kudos to Mandy. She always wanted to make it to the top of all the mountains, but I'm sorry. I just, who in their right mind would drag a body, like you're not getting a vehicle up there. Like if you were to really consider Tanque Verde somewhere on that elevation as a burial ground, I'm sorry, that's the hardest terrain to first of all go through. It's very slippery, and where Tanque Verde is, the first level, the terrain is like the incline is literally like this. It's not like this, the Catalina State Park. It was oh so lovely, nice rolling kind of hills and easy to maneuver. But Tanque Verde was a literal incline that was like this, okay? And the debris, very slippery, extremely slippery. So reasonably, are you getting a body up there? No, the heck not. So I warned those 2 ladies. I'm sorry. I have 4 planets in Aries and a Scorpio moon. I do not like to waste time, and I like to be upfront with people right away. So the day that we knew we were going to just drive up to Tanque Verde, the monsoon stopped us on the first day. We only got so far, and in fact the sheriff vehicles, they take monsoons very seriously, and Tanque Verde is on such a cliff. It's not even a mountain, it's a cliff, that as we were trying to navigate the first level, we hadn't even gotten up yet, but the sheriff's vehicle started to go up the mountain beyond us, and it was going to tell people to get the heck out of there, okay? Because when the monsoon is coming, you do not want to be on that kind of incline. No. So we couldn't get there that first day. We went back the next day with the helper, Susan, and I had warned the ladies we're taking different cars because I said, look, I'm not stopping anybody from searching where they feel they need to go, but I'm not going into terrain that isn't red earth, okay? And I made that very clear. I'm not wasting days. I'm not wasting a minute. So those 2 lovely ladies went on their own, and there were great calamities that happened at that location. I went there only to sing songs, and like I said, I'm sorry, but I'm kind of like black and white sometimes. If I'm not helping you, I'm telling you to my face and your face, and I'm being really honest about it. So no, I was not enjoying the idea of going up there, and I warned them I'm singing and I'm leaving. Now, the interesting thing that happened is even with me being that cut and dry, I'm not here to be hanging out with you. What is amazing is Mandy got herself into trouble that day, and we had a running joke that I was carrying watermelon everywhere we went because, well, number one, people, is the best hydration you can get when you're walking around in a desert. And I thought that was a smart lunch package. So we, of course, had our own water, and I had all this watermelon, and there was this running joke that I was sitting under trees eating watermelon. That was actually very true, keeping shaded and hydrated. But here's the funny thing that did happen, because Mandy got into some crazy trouble that day, and this is the power of the sacred songs, Sweat Lodge songs that I was singing. Those songs are prayer in motion, okay? Those songs are prayer before you even open your mouth. I can assure you that. And what is interesting is I packed this can of water. It was given to me in the hotel I had in Phoenix, and I'm not about to waste water, so I packed it. And here I was days later in Tucson, and it was still in the fridge, so I, threw it in my bag. And I was like little bag lady carrying my little plastic bags through the desert of our cold drinks and watermelon. Okay, so little did I know, but when I was setting myself down to say those prayers through my songs, little did I know, I had already dropped that can of water. And I mean, fair enough, I was plopping my plastic down, looking around, picking it up again, and I was down and up with that bag so many times, no wonder. So the can of water falls out. I didn't know it. But what is amazing is after I finished my songs, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm getting out of here. It was already like 40 degrees in the morning, okay? And as I was leaving, the only person I saw was this really good looking young man with a hat on. And I didn't go down the incline. If I had gone down the path, there's apparently a waterfalls down there, and I'm sorry, I wasn't there as a tourist, so I wasn't going to the waterfall. And I regret it, but that was that. I wanted to get out and look at red earth. So anyway, this young man's in front of me, and all he says to me is this, hey, did you see any water? And I'm like, actually, I didn't go anywhere. Sorry, I didn't. Have a good time. And off I went. Okay, so little did I know, Mandy was doing her like Mandy shenanigans, okay? That's all I'll say. And I didn't know that though. I heard about it later. So apparently Mandy could hear me sing my songs. And at the same time, apparently she was falling down part of that mountain. And I don't know exactly how that happened because I thought she was on the very bottom. She had gone down onto what would be the flat ground, and I understood her to be walking through the flat ground safely. And remember, I was like, sing, leave. So I heard about this after the fact, but what had happened was somewhere after examining and exploring the lower part of Tanque Verde, the flat part, Mandy did whatever she did. And I just don't even know how it happened, but she ended up falling. She ended up like screaming for help. I wasn't there. But that nice young man who like stopped and said, hey, did you find any water? Okay, what's funny about this, what's really funny, because I found out all about this later, I noticed when he and I ran into each other, he had like the same can of water. Okay, and you don't always see water in a can, okay? And I realized he was holding the same can that I had brought. Now, I didn't even put two to two together that was actually my water can. And he was just holding it like in his cute little, like, he was really cute. So he was like holding this water, and I was like, kind of going, you're so young. Do you know what you're getting into? Like, it's hot out here. And I saw the water, and anyway, we parted, and little did I know, he was the one that rescued Mandy because she had done something crazy to herself. And I don't know how the heck she did it. She ended up falling on cacti. And she was doing Mandy shenanigans all through our searches where she was mocking and teasing cactus. And she kept warning me that, you know, even the cactus can kill you, because if you're stabbed by the needles, look out. It can, you know, cause infections. And she just kept going on and on and on everywhere we searched. So I was trying to be careful. She was being crazy. So she ended up falling on cacti. And what happens when you fall on that type of cactus, it's got its own spikes, right? And apparently once it penetrates your skin, there's more than the one needle that kind of does this in your skin. Like it kind of opens up and it holds on to you. So it's not just the main needle from the cactus going in you. There's these subparts that can be very painful. So Mandy did that to herself. And here's the power of the songs, because I was gone. Remember, I warned her, I'm not going to be around. Are you guys okay? Are you sure you're okay? Okay. Well, her poor friend had an asthma attack, I found out, ended up waiting in her car. So Mandy was doing these shenanigans on her own. And again, not safe, people. Not safe, not safe, because she really did have a calamity and had this young, beautiful young man ended up being the person who saved her. And what was crazy was apparently the water she brought got perished in some way. You know, be careful, careful, careful. And little did I know, I dropped my water. But thanks to those songs, I'm putting it on the songs and how powerful they are. That young man found my can of water. And when he rescued Mandy, he had that can of water, and she was dying of thirst by then. So cheers to how powerful those songs are. And all I can say is don't fuck around in the desert. Sorry to swear, but you know, it's just not safe, okay? And we had running jokes that, you know, we're looking for a dead woman, okay? And it was tense, and it was hard, and it was hot, and we did use humor to get through some of this. And that I will give to Mandy, who was a liar and a half, lying about me on TikTok, creating drama so that her TikTok followers feared for Mandy's safety, and Mandy was using it as a ploy to get people to donate because, you know, she was threatened as if. So anyway, my water saved that woman, and I wouldn't search her from that day forward, or search with her from that day forward, because I couldn't handle, for all of you that were very beautiful and complimenting us and thanking us, I'll do the same thing. I will thank Mandy for introducing me to the hairdresser. I will thank Mandy for bringing sage. I will thank Mandy for the humor on the trip. But the bullshit that she created on TikTok is atrocious, and I wasn't happy about that. Sorry to say. So in any case, I'm gonna stick to the light. That's all I have to say about that. But for anybody that was wondering why I was not searching with Mandy anymore, I couldn't take how many times she changed what she thought about this case. It was too dizzying. Real mediumship is somebody penetrates you, plants this information in your head, okay, and you can't get off that information. I am not getting off red earth, okay? I'm sitting here in Canada. I'm telling you, Nancy is buried in red earth. If her body's ever discovered, talk to me about it later. She's in red earth. So you're never going to hear me say something different. Mandy was changing her mind every single day, who did it, why they did it, and there was this crazy theory that Mandy had that Nancy was dismembered in her home. Do you even understand the amount of blood that would have been on location had somebody dismembered Nancy in her home. No, 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 no. I will not like put my energy on just ridiculous things, okay? And I'm sure there's a lot of people who think I'm ridiculous as a medium, but whatever. You're at least gonna see that I'm consistent and congruent, and I'm not changing my theories every 5 minutes. So going back to, that was our second day of searching. I was like, sayonara, ladies, you be careful out there. I'm going to look for red earth. And that's what I did. So from that day forward, I was searching on my own in many different ways, and I do not regret it. So now I do want to talk about these ranches I visited, but like I said, I am not mentioning names, but you can put in Tucson and you can put in ChatGPT or in Google, and you can do the same thing I did. I am looking for ranches and or horse stables that were in the proximity of 23 to 30 minutes from 5820 North Camino Escalante. And you look up that list on your own. I went to every ranch and horse location I could find. And I'll talk about that more. I want to just keep on, though, talking about other terrains I looked at. Now, we were struggling with 110 degrees every single day, and the heat there, you know, it was light by 5 a.m. So that was my preference. I wanted to be up at 5 and out and finished by noon. That was really the goal, because the days are too hot in the middle of the day. So what I did from that point on is I just pretty much stuck to driving in a air-conditioned car, and I just went, for going north, I was still concerned with everything going up Highway 77. That's where I have been led. And again, I still have to say, I believe with respect to Highway 77 and going north from Nancy's location, I do believe that's where she was held. That is my instinct. And I sat in different areas along the route. It's really hot here, excuse me, I'm sweating everywhere. I sat in different spots up Highway 77, just sitting in the car, tuning into the area, asking to feel Nancy, asking, like, you know, it's almost like when you're really trying to find someone, it's almost like you're trying to tap into their own energy, of course. It's almost like, where's the GPS of this? So I just sat quietly all the way up 77, all the way up through Oracle, all the way up through Saddlebrook as well. And I had a very interesting conversation and thing that happened in Saddlebrook. Now, what interested me about Saddlebrook is, number one, the name. It's still a little further than the 23-minute mark, to tell the truth, a little further. But when we had visions of where Nancy was being held, in the visions, I was practically run over by a team of horses. And I could see these men on the horses, and like they ran by me. It's like they almost ran through me is really what it was like. And I could see 5 horses, 5 men. It was like a stampede. And I believe in Tucson they're called dude ranches. That is a theme and a name. And there are dude ranches in that vicinity. So again, that's what I was trying to feel out. And you know, and I gotta be honest, because I do appreciate all of the comments that come in on YouTube, and I take the comments really seriously. And there was a comment that came in going something like, I don't understand, why aren't you still searching? I'm in Canada and can't be there anymore is one reason. And I would love to continue searching. And I guess I have to be honest. Like I did want to go search, of course, and find the body. Okay. Now, for a medium to go out anywhere and try to find a body on a first go, I've done this long enough. It just doesn't happen that way. You'd have to be superwoman, you know, for your senses, and I don't doubt people have them, but it's really hard because you keep having to eliminate what some of those clues are, and is it this, is it that, is it? So in any event, I don't know if I expected to really find her body. What I wanted to do was confirm, is her information lining up with things that are true and real in Tucson? Okay, what really is 23 minutes from her house? Could the perpetrators really be 28 minutes from her house? Well, one of the ranches I looked at is exactly 28 minutes from her house. So there are things that there are definitely more than one point that Nancy has given me that really line up, okay? And they really do coordinate with a lot of her clues. So I have to say that that was more of what I was going for. Is this information valid? Can I see that it is somehow congruent to what is truth? Okay, that's very important. I'm not here on a goose chase. And I need to remind people, I don't know this lady, okay? Like, I haven't spent the money I spent on this trip on my own mother that's alive, okay? So put that in perspective of what the heck is the Canadian doing chasing a woman that's dead and I don't know her, okay? So that's pretty wild when you think of it, okay? But yes, do the clues line up? Absolutely. There's a lot of things that line up with horse ranching within that time. There are clues and symbols from what she gave us, my sister and I, in several readings, where one of the ranches I went to has practically every single clue. It had cattle, it had the horses, it is a dude ranch, it even had axe throwing, which is one of the things we saw, axes of all things in one of the readings, going, what the heck is with these axes? Hey, we use them here in Canada for firewood all the time. Anyone can have an outdoor experience at any time of the year. I would imagine in Arizona with that as well. But I coincidentally found a ranch that has axe throwing in addition to all of the other clues Nancy gave me. And including, we kept seeing like what was considered like film equipment. We wondered is it weddings that were being filmed? We could see wedding, we could see bridal and groom, we could see film cameras, we could see the old style West. So we're like, is this a film set? And we had someone that suggested it might be Tucson Rodeo. Now that's a little further south, and I must admit I didn't get to that location, but one of the locations that I did get to, at least 7 of the clues, were at this one ranch. So I'm not naming names like I said, but that's what I went down for. I certainly would have loved to find the body. I certainly did go looking for Nancy's body. But I have to also trust what she said in the first visitation. She really didn't ask me to find her body. She was more telling me what to look for, absolutely. And she kept giving me that message that her burial and her remains could be uncovered by prairie dogs. Now, I keep getting messages from people that have even said as recent as yesterday, there are no prairie dogs there. I can tell you, when I went out alone to the one place that really had red earth, I went there alone one day, and I believe that was the Friday, after I told Mandy I wouldn't be searching anymore with her. I went to an area close to Marana, and it was safe enough for me to search on my own. I did go out into a location, and with respect to where she could be buried and the clues specific to that, I did find a place around Marana. I really did. And it had red earth, and this is what was amazing. I went to one location. I even found a pond, and that was one of the clues, that her body would be around this desert, open air desert, but there could just be this little drop of water close to her, and that's what I did find. So with respect to finding locations that equal the messages for the burial, absolutely, and I did find that. Now, I searched on foot, got back to my car, and I wanted to search through another area. So I took this little road, and it had a very slow speed limit, and I was going real slow anyway because I was trying to like tune in to the whole area. I was very happy to go slow. But what happened as I was doing that through that area, a prairie dog ran in front of my car, and it was the first time I have ever seen a prairie dog, and it was the cutest little mommy. It was actually a little baby, and it wasn't even big, and it was on its like back legs, and it was just like scurrying through like a little, oh, it was so adorable. So prairie dogs, absolutely, I am a witness. I have seen them. Now this is what's remarkable. That was on Friday. Saturday, I searched ranches, and then Sunday, the hairdresser was kind enough to say she would search with me, and because I needed to be leaving pretty soon after this, and I had done a lot of scouting on the Saturday myself, I knew that the hairdresser wanted to help me on Sunday, and I thought, okay, I'm going to make sure that we go search on foot together. But the Saturday, I drove all over the place, just doing my own pre-look, kind of going, is that red earth? 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 I went all over Tucson that day, and I was up at the crack of dawn, and I went to all those stables, and I drove all sorts of different areas looking for red earth, red earth, red earth, red earth, red earth. Okay, so by the time Sunday came, there was really only one area I was taking the hairdresser, and we went back to exactly where I had already searched and had already found that pond near the red earth area. What is amazing is we did exactly the same thing where I took her to the one location I had already searched on foot, but there was so much desert trees, it wasn't cactus there, and the reason I found this to be very important was anytime Nancy showed me where she was, I personally, call me nuts, I personally did not see cacti, not the tall, beautiful, skinny ones, anywhere in the visions when I've worked with Nancy on where her burial is. Okay, it's more, yes, I know it's open arid desert, but I see more desert brush, okay? Now, I showed photos to a woman from Arizona when I found this location. She was kind enough to fund part of the trip so I could stay the extra weekend. And thank you, because what she was able to do was identify the names of the brush. So she was able to give me that information, which I do not have for you right now. But what is great is this type of desert tree, if it were to lose its leaves, because it wasn't quite cactusy, it was more like a tree leaf is really what it looked like. That is exactly the type of desert brush when dried and fallen from the tree. That is exactly the type of desert brush that I have seen in the visions with respect to where her body is. So it added up to me. That is my hot spot. And when the hairdresser and I went, talk about incredible, okay? Because sometimes the only thing that keeps you going with your mediumship pursuits of, does this information add up? Sometimes it is another clue that is trying to be an affirmation for you, a confirmation of some type. Okay, so same place we were searching, that I had searched. Here I was with the hairdresser. And what was incredible is we did the same thing. We got to the one area, we went on foot. It was hotter than heck because it was later in the day. And we did poke around as much as we could. And we were interrupted by a vehicle coming to the location. And the hairdresser wanted to get out of there because we wondered if we were on private land. So that was a concern. So we hightailed it out of the ground search. However, what was very interesting, because the hairdresser had not been there and she had heard my clues and had just seen what we had seen, she had an incredible idea of saying, well, why don't we just follow this road and go through the rest of this area? And I said, yeah, that's what I did. Let's do that again. So I just done that on Friday. So here we were doing it again on Sunday, and this was the cool thing. She was going very slow as well, because the road you're taking is a very low speed limit. You have to go slow. So here we were crawling through this little area, and what happens? What happens? A prairie dog ran under her car. She watched it. It went under her car. Now the one that ran in front of my car, I was going so slow. It had tons of room and time to make it to the other side of the street. But with the hairdresser's car, that prairie dog went right under. We didn't hear it hit. We didn't hit it, and out it went. Okay, so what are the chances, if Nancy is telling us prairie dogs will uncover my burial, and the one area that I finally found red earth, prairie dog runs to our car twice? What do you think of that? I think that's spirit saying we're in the right spot. That's what I'm saying. So that was interesting. And that is my one hot area that I still say Nancy's buried in that area. That's what I'm saying. Now, here's the thing though. When Nancy kept communicating 23 minutes and 28 minutes, what's interesting about always getting these 23-minute indications and 28, she is telling me that the perpetrators are less than 30 minutes from her home, and she's told me she was taken 23 minutes from her home. So if that's true, the only thing that was nagging me is where I found the area with red earth and the prairie dogs ran to and under our car, in front and under the car. What is interesting about that though, and makes me still wonder, is when I look at the distance from her house to that location, it is more than 23 minutes. And if I remember correctly, it could be a little more than 28 minutes. So I wasn't sure if I should still be considering it. But with the prairie dog running the way it did, that's what I'm looking for. I'm always looking for what are the signs and symbols from nature. I pray to the doorways, and when those prayers go out, especially Sweat Lodge songs, all of the universe conspires with you now, okay? So those prairie dogs running by our car, that is serious. that's not being taken lightly. Okay, so here's the consideration though. And I had discovered this on the Saturday. Okay, I had searched this one area on the Friday. I went searching ranches and other areas on the Saturday, and then the hairdresser and I went out to that same spot on the Sunday. Okay, so on the Saturday, I want to tell you about this. That's when I was driving up Highway 77 going north. And like I said, I was interested in anything around Catalina State Park, which I did investigate, and I'm still on that, absolutely. Then you go further and you're reaching Oro and you're reaching Saddlebrook, and Saddlebrook definitely has the open terrain that it looks the same in all direction, and it's flat and it's arid and it's right beside the highway, okay? When you take 77 up, left side, right side, everything looks the same. They don't necessarily have the same saguaros there, but same thing, they have all of this desert brush, or desert foliage that could definitely turn into desert brush. So I was just taking photos of each direction, each side of the highway, and this is what was also wild. I parked my car in a safe spot on a shoulder off the road, and I was just getting out to take all those photos. Well, what was very interesting is I could hear this gravel behind me, and I thought, okay, well, I'm on a little corner, and it was near Saddlebrook Ranch. I had stopped. There's this big entrance that you can take a road in, two sides, of course, but I was on the edge of the road on the highway. So I'm hearing gravel behind me, and I look, and there's actually a sheriff's vehicle that pulled over a BMW. And the way that the BMW finally stopped off of the highway, it was mere feet from me, like stone's throw, like I had to move back, okay? And I, of course, didn't interrupt, but I was like, that sheriff's vehicle was stationed on the side of the road as I came up to Saddlebrook, and I noticed it passed me, and here it was coming back, stopping this dude. So I thought, that's kind of wild, the same sheriff. But anyway, I was like, I want to talk to the sheriff dude about the area. And something told me to just wait. So I did. And it actually took a while. And that Beamer got off lucky. Okay, so that's besides the point. But once the Beamer left, I asked the young officer if I could just ask him some questions. And I did say, the Nancy Guthrie case, I would imagine it's still a thing down here, and it's reached Canada, and I explained what I was doing there, answering sort of the messages and trying to look for clues. And I started to talk to him about the fact that Nancy said she was taken 23 minutes north. And I gotta give this cop credit. He was really listening to me. He was not rolling his eyes. And he was hearing me out. And I was just giving him some straight up information saying, look, she's saying she was taken 23 minutes north. I've measured it with speed limit. It's a different time of day that I'm driving, of course, than the getaway car would have been. But speed limit is speed limit, and you never know. Maybe a criminal wants to go the speed limit, so he's not attracting attention. So I did the 23-minute mark that way. And I told the officer that it lets me off. That 23-minute mark is precisely where Catalina town meets Catalina State Park. Okay? Now, I was also telling him, though, that I'm determined to say that two things are happening. Trying to find the location where she was taken, first of all, just so we know who the perps are and where were they? I know they've burned all evidence, but where were they, right? We still want to know that. But like I said, burial could be totally somewhere else. Maybe it's not the 23-minute mark, but that's the topic of discussion with this officer. And I'm saying, same thing though, I believe she's in red earth. So what do you think of that? Now, this officer was from Pinal County, not Pima. And Pinal County takes care of Monera. Now, Monera keeps coming up, okay? And I wasn't as fixed on Monera before I went on the trip. But as soon as I arrived, if you've watched some of the videos and the shorts I put up, there was a very wild old police car that ended up parking near me. And in the hotel parking lot, I was just attracted to it because it said Monera, and I thought, why is that here? The strange thing about this car, this police car that was from Monera, is once I described it, okay, I think I had seen it on the Monday, the first week I was there, in the hotel parking lot. Then by the Tuesday, when I had lunch with Mandy and the hairdresser at El Charro, downtown Tucson, they invited me. Once they had already gotten there, I was at the memorial and they were like, hey, come for lunch. So I was minutes away. And as I was driving there, how bizarre, but I was only maybe 2 stop signs from where the restaurant was. And at one of those stop signs, I had the right of way. But here at one of the stop signs on a crossing street was that old worn out cop car from Monera. And I was like, what are the chances that this old cop car that I keep running into is here at a stop sign on the way to lunch, going to El Charro, Nancy's favorite restaurant, meeting up with her personal hairdresser for the first time? That to me was crazy. And I mentioned it to the hairdresser that I know it sounds weird, but I'm just wondering, why do I keep seeing that? And is Nancy trying to send me to Monera? Because it would make sense. There's red earth there. There really is red earth in Monera. So since I mentioned it to the hairdresser, she's now seen that car twice. And the same thing, it's just coming out of the blue. So we were just thinking, what the heck with this Monera? And as I'm talking to the police officer, I didn't mention any of that to the officer, but I just said, you know, I'm in search of red earth, and I did notice that there is a lot at Monera, but it's further than this 23-minute mark. So I don't know if this is a consideration, but you know what the officer said? And I thought this was so wild. He said, well, if you take the way the bird flies, you're there in 23 minutes easy. And plus, you could be taking the back roads. There are back roads there that get you there pretty fast. You're probably just looking up the GPS route that's normal. And I just thought, oh, well, thank you for that information. It was a really interesting consideration. And this is the other thing he said. Because when we were right at Saddlebrook, and I was saying, you know, this terrain is very similar to what I'm seeing. And you know, look at this. This really does go on forever. You can see it in the horizon. And it's the same thing over and over against the horizon. And he said, well, what's interesting here, if you're saying her remains could be uncovered, I hunt through here all the time. I come through here all the time. And hunting season, that's something that is kind of now curious to me, because that makes me curious. Is this how Nancy could be found? Because I didn't feel I was the one that was supposed to go and really find the body. Although I want to be able to say, where's the red earth? If someone wants to continue looking down there, of course, let's go look in some more red earth, okay? But is it just as simple as her body's going to be uncovered by prairie dogs? And could it be as simple as a hunter coming across it? Because they would be the ones running through that crazy part of the desert looking for deer or whatever they're hunting for. So that gave me considerable hope, to be honest. And it's plausible. We've had people discovered here in Canada by hunters, bodies found in the woods because hunters were there. So that is plausible. and that gives me great hope. So now I don't know what else I can report with respect to where we really searched, because we really did go through a lot of inner city things when Mandy and I were teaming up. But like I said, there was just, I'll never believe she's inner city. So I kiboshed those searches very quickly for my time. And I have to still point people towards Monera. And the officer did confirm that the red earth definitely goes through Monera, Red Rock, and a section of it, like if you look at the map, there's this whole southern twist where the red earth goes. Well, I'm sorry, that's not southern. Oh, wait a second. Yes, it is. Yes, he was referring to the fact that if you look at Monera and Red Rock, he was claiming that that red earth is in those locations, but it actually goes south through Tucson as far down as Saguaro National Park. So that's the best I can pass on now. That I would still say, now that I have looked at the terrain in a handful of areas, I am still targeting Monera, Red Rock, down to Saguaro National Park. That's the only red earth that you're getting in those areas. So that's where I'm at with giving you the catch up on what I discovered, what I observed, what I'm still stuck on, what I'm still focused on. And I know people leaving comments thinking like this is done because I've come home. I'm going to remind you, this started long before I even thought of going to Arizona. And I am glad I hit this trip in June. It is disastrously hot in July, so that was the smarter month to go. I'm glad it worked out on my end. I had a babysitter for my 9 cats. That was divinely planned. That has not happened in 4 to 5 years, folks. So that's why I feel the universe is cooperating, and I feel really bad for the family because this just keeps going on and on. And the longer cases drag out, the more desperate it can be. But I don't know, I just feel like the little bit of observations I've made in the small amount of time I had, I'm gonna stick to what I've just said. Monera, Red Rock, Saguaro National Park. That's where the body could be found. And as far as the perpetrators go, you know, one of the theories was people from El Charro could have become enamored with the thought of kidnapping Nancy while the NBC Today show filmed in that restaurant. You've seen that most likely if you know this case. You know, when I was in El Charro, I must say there was something that kept making me feel really bad. One of the waiters was middle-aged man, lovely person. I ordered the guacamole that is made at your table, and Mandy was definitely on the idea that people at El Charro could have been involved. And I know that that's a theory that's floating around. It could make sense because, you know, you're looking at this film crew in your restaurant kind of going, why are they so special? And then people are chit-chatting about, oh, the family has money, oh, you know. Anything is possible, and I know that's a genuine theory that's circulated. So when we were there, what Mandy was noticing, and I did not notice this, so please don't take my word or anything, but what Mandy was saying, and like she fabricated stuff, so hard to believe anyway, but She was saying that two of the people at that restaurant had the tattoos that were similar to the door person. I cannot say that that's true or false or real. I didn't notice the tattoos. But, you know, I keep thinking about the man who made my guacamole. And I remember in the beginning of channeling this information when Nancy was trying to give me images related to the perps and what their backgrounds were. If you remember, I've got tons of details on that. And swear to the heavens, one of the little clips she gave me looking at perp 1 or 2 that are in her home, I kept getting this vision that one of the men makes tortillas for real, and could be in a, like, I wondered if it was a bakery or a restaurant or a kitchen, let's just say kitchen. And I swear I was seeing that this person was making tortillas and was used to a kitchen. They were used to a kitchen. So, and if you remember, there is speculation. We don't know that those ransom notes were, you know, if you've noticed the media flip-flopping back and forth on, were those 2 ransom notes valid or true, or could it have just been someone feeding it in their own way, not even related to the kidnappers? Hard to say. But what I do know is, from what I've seen in readings that I've done, there is at least one of the perpetrators that was soulfully sorry, really sorry. Like, I was praying that that person would just give up the rest of the people, the family. But that's what I think this is an issue. What's in issue, I believe, is the fact that perp 1 on the door, perp 2 in the home, they are family. They are family. So ratting out your family, I don't know. You got to live with them. Turning on family, I don't know. But wouldn't you love it if that sympathetic suspect, time has a way of eating at our souls, okay? When we have done something nasty, wrong, it eats at people. And especially from the beginning, I have said this was not a murder for hire. This was not, let's kill Nancy. This was really supposed to be an orchestrated money grab. Hey, we're just going to keep you for a few days and, you know, give you back. Don't worry. It's just going to be a short while. Well, let's hope that that one perp that just feels so heavy in his heart, it's a male, I know it. And what was crazy is, I do not want to be accusing anyone at El Charro, trust me. But even I had to wonder about the waiter making my lunch that day, because when you read people's energy, like, sometimes sadness can sit on your body. You can almost see it right in front of someone. It's almost like when you see an aura that's part of a person, like sometimes their anguish can be on them, their sadness can be on them, their grief can be on them. You almost see it like it's a film on them. So I have to say, that's bugging me. I'm not pointing fingers at El Charro. But I can't escape. I keep thinking about that man. I really do. I keep thinking about him. I keep seeing the sadness on him. I keep seeing this thing on him that's almost like, I have to act normal. So I'm going to just stop right there, because I have no clue if that restaurant has anything to do with this. I want to be careful what I'm saying there, but boy, I'm telling you though, you can sometimes read people's energy in that way where you see what their emotions truly are and what they're gripping with. So I don't know. But definitely someone on that team that kidnapped Nancy, I do believe that they make tortillas. They've worked in a kitchen, and they have, once again, there's a Mexican connection every time I see these clues. So the crew is Mexican. I still stand on that. And I don't know what else to say other than that's my update for June search. And I'm going to just keep the faith and hope that this all comes to light one way or another. And truth always has a way of making itself known. So I'm going to hold on to hoping for truth to come to the surface. And I had predicted that there could be a breakthrough by August, and everyone was panicking, thinking that was so far away. Now August is a mere 32 days away. So let's hope that there's some sort of breakthrough in August. Could someone just be out in the desert and discover Nancy? So let's hope. I have lots more to still post from the trip, so I will be loading up all sorts of images and videos that I do have. But that's the best I can do for what I can tell you about the search that I witnessed with my own eyes and walked through with my own feet. And I definitely feel there's a different energy, I have to say, that since I've gotten back with respect to delivering the FedEx letters. What I noticed in my email address today is other people from Tucson are getting a hold of me, so thank you very much, giving me other information. So I'm not finished on this, but I would say though, I have definitely noticed a change in the urgency. Like when in June I decided to do the search, like I wouldn't have even dreamt that up, I'm going to tell you. Providing the information was, I thought, enough, to be honest. That big document for the FBI, that was going to be enough. But what I do appreciate is something was driving me to get down there and do that search. Something was driving me. Nancy was driving me. And I have gone through that before when I've searched for other missing people. When a spirit really wants you propelled to get into a certain area, I swear it is like an angel's riding on your back. You feel it. And it really is like something's driving you, okay? I can't even express that as clear as that can be. It's like something's on you and it's driving you. So I have to say that was huge for me, and I'm very happy that I had the cojones to do that, because that heat was kind of a worry for me even before I went, thinking, and everybody was warning me about all the scary things that could go on. But every time I checked in for, am I going to be safe? Is it okay? My spirits didn't show me one red flag. So I survived Mandy's lies and villainization due to lies. Who cares? Very glad that I was very safe in the desert. Because yeah, there's a lot of things that can get you there, including dehydration. So, but I have to say, the urgency is not on me anymore. So I don't want to scare people. I just want to be authentic with how energy can change when spirits are trying to move you. Okay, now, and I'm mentioning this for a reason. I've noticed the shift. I don't feel I need to get on a plane and go back there. okay? I'm gonna be really honest about that. I feel the urgency is off me because I laid the right path. That's what I feel I can say authentically. I walked the right path. I gathered the right information. Whether I know it or not, I exposed myself to what I needed to be in front of. Okay, so that is real for me. The urgency is gone. So sometimes Spirit will create that urgency because of timing. And if I can contribute anything, I most certainly hope I have stepped into the most divine timing by doing what I've done, by pushing what I pushed, by seeing what I've seen. And one thing I do know about the searches I have gone through for Marilyn and Neely, for instance, you just walk into everyone with the same faith that each search will bring you closer, because you're either going to be eliminating a location or confirming a location. And what happened more than once in Marilyn and Neely's case is I would just go on these searches and we would just take photos and we would just pile up the photos and we would just keep them in a catalog. And one of the searches that my sister had come on was really disastrous in one way, because she picked up something very important with Marilyn's case and she actually fell to the ground screaming at one of the searches, sent me out of body, sent everybody out of body. We were desperately worried about her because she literally collapsed and was on the ground. And then that just killed the search. Like, we were so worried about her. It's like, never mind the search. I was so out of body, I couldn't even think straight. But what was incredible, we didn't know it then. It took, I think it was 2.5 years later, I was watching other crime shows, true crime shows, during COVID lockdowns here in Canada, because we were confined to our residences during that time. And I watched them all the time. I was watching them back to back. And what was incredible was this case was being solved because someone decided to put a billboard up from a 12-year-old case, and it got solved from this billboard. And I was just watching this great case, you know. And all of a sudden, as I'm watching the TV, Spirit gave me this vision. And I had always taken photos, like I said, for cataloging. And all of a sudden, Spirit making me see this vision, third eye, and it's a bird's eye view. That's a real term that I use with getting visions from Spirit. It's like you're on a 45-degree angle and you're way up here and you really are like a bird and you're seeing this vision and you're seeing above it and you're seeing everything about it. And what was incredible is they're replaying this vision of the search where my sister collapsed, and that day we were on the bank of a river. You could see the river, and there were all these colored canoes. One was yellow, and I'd taken a photo of the yellow canoe, and I'd taken a photo of the river, and I'd taken a photo of where we were, la 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 la, all that stuff. All of a sudden, it's all showing to me again. And the spirits do this to me all the time, and I have to ask them, okay, well, I can see the search. There were 5 of us on the search. I could count us on this vision again. It's like, oh, there we are again, you know? So I said to the spirits, well, why are you showing this to me? And there was just this pause of silence. And then in my right ear, all of a sudden I heard a female voice say, oh, and it was like she'd leaned in. It was like, you know, when I hear voices, they are very real. It's like someone's in the room. It's not in my head, it's in the room. And I heard someone just say, you were so close. And then I got the shivers. And what that told us was, where my sister collapsed. No wonder she collapsed there. That was so close to where Marilyn is truly buried. And from that point, it only took me another year. I think it was the very next year, on the anniversary weekend of her missing, and we found that location. And it was uncanny, because from the photo I remember and the day my sister was there, it was uncanny. So that happened years. It was years, a year and a half or something like that, from when we had searched. So that's what Spirit will do, okay? And that's, I'm sitting here in Canada thinking my job's done. Let's see, because Spirit timing is everything, and they will not communicate with you until it is precision timing, and you will not see anything until they want you to. So that's all I can say. It's not over. It's not over. You have no clue when Spirit will come back in and give information. So I'm still on it. That's all I can say for now.